Hello guys, welcome back to narsicloud.com. In today's video, we're going to talk about RDS creation. This is the continuation of our previous video where we discussed about RDS basics and the context of RDS in the cloud. So if you want to watch all my previous videos in this channel, please visit narsicloud.com and narsicloud channel in YouTube. And you can watch all the videos in that's created for AWS CRASH course. So you have a playlist over there. So let's dive into RDS today. Today we'll take up the Postgres example, and we'll create one RDS instance and we'll connect to RDS from our local machine. Okay, that's the goal for today. So if you look at my screen here, we have AWS services. Let's get back to RDS. So RDS stands for Relational Database Services. So using this, we can create instances for many types of databases. So on the dashboard, like you have dashboard, databases, query editor, we have lots of options like this, right? So let's get to databases. So right now we don't have any database instance created. So let's go ahead and create database. So here you have a few options, right? So standard create. So if you see here, you set all of the configuration options, including ones for availability, security, backups, and maintenance, and easy create. So there come the kind of options where you choose the already predefined configurations, or you go ahead and create standard create and set up all of your configurations, right? But in either of the options, you can update your configurations at any time, even after database creation. Okay. So coming to engine options. So we have different types of RDS engine options here. Amazon Aurora, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, right? So RDS is basically a relational concept, right? So it supports these types of relational databases as of today. Okay, so let's choose PostgreSQL for today's demo. And here you can select different types of versions. So the latest version is 12.5 PostgreSQL. Let's keep it like that. And once you see the concept today, and it's gonna be the same and similar concepts for all the other databases. So that's why I just took one of the example as PostgreSQL. So and then coming to templates, you have production, dev, test, and free tier. So usually in our companies we choose either dev or test or production, right? So for this demo, I think let's choose free tier. When you create an account, you're eligible to, as part of free tier plan, you're eligible to take the advantage of some of the free services there, right? So and then coming to settings, so database instance identifier. So this one is, once you create the database instance, it will be created with this name. So it's kind of identifier. So what we can do is we can demo db. So just for demo purposes, right? And here you create credential settings. So let's keep this as it is, and you can create whatever you want there, right? So master username Postgres, and give some password there. So this is all, whatever I'm doing right now, this is all just for demo, just to give you an idea like how to create the database and stuff. But most of the steps will be similar even in your company when you create it for dev database or production. But the process will be a little bit different, but eventually the goal is to create database instance in cloud, right? And then db instance size. So if you see here, because we chose free tier instance, by default all other options are disabled because they're not part of the free tier. Okay, so let's keep it as it is. We chose 1 vCPU, 1 GB RAM, and not EBS optimized. That's fine. So the what it's talking about is, it's about the database instance, the machine, that virtual machine that gets created in cloud. Okay, so storage type, keep it minimal, and here we don't have to enable storage auto scaling. So what this does is, once you enable this, what happens, as you see, as you keep saving the data in your database, it keep on increasing the consuming that the hard disk, right, the storage. So if you enable this, it will auto scale. You can start with 20 GB, minimum of, I think it requires minimum 20, and a maximum of 16 GB. I mean 16,000 GB. So here you can set up what would be that maximum, right? So for this demo we don't need that. And here let's say if it's 1 GB, and if you see here, so it's requiring to at least 20 GB, right? So let's change that. So it's going to attach 20 GB hard disk, like EBS, elastic block storage, to your instance. So that's where your data will reside. Okay. Even if you don't understand any of these terminology, please feel free to watch my previous videos. This is part of the AWS crash course. And multi-AZ deployment. So here, what is multi-AZ, right? It's multi-available zones. So when you create a DB instance, you can create that in multiple available zones, so that if one server goes down, it can take care of, it can move to other instance, and that server can start serving you requests. Okay. And then so default VPC, let's use that. So this is the all default configurations. So whenever you create an account, you get these VPCs created, right? Otherwise you can create new VPC, and you can take that route as well. Okay. For now, for this demo, let's enable this public access. So Amazon EC2 instances, devices outside the VPC can connect to your database, right? So if you say no, then it will not assign any public IP addresses, and the instances within that VPC can connect to this database. That's how we do usually in real time, right? You don't want your database instances to be publicly available. But that's another concept. But for this demo, you can just choose to understand, like to connect to their database, right? Like a prototype. VPC security group, I think you can choose the default ones here, and then additional configuration is a database port. Okay. So password authentication, and it has all additional configuration where you create the database name, right? So what this additional configuration is, when you create a database instance, eventually you need the database to be created, right? So you can create this as well as demo DB, which means it spins up the virtual instance, and then it attaches EBS block to that EBS storage to your instance, virtual instance, and then it also creates the database server, the PostgreSQL database. Then once it spins up and running, then you will use that URL and master username and password, connect to that DB, and then create your tables. That's how it goes. Okay. So default parameter group, you can specify that. So this parameter group is basically that it has a lot of options where you configure things for your DB, and enable automatic backups. These are all real-time stuff. We don't need that for this demo. And performance insight, we don't need that. Monitoring, basically if you enable this, it's going to generate the metrics, and it will show you in the dashboards that how database is being used, and how much performance, and if there are any spikes accessing your database, if there are any connection errors, or if it is running out of connections, all that stuff you can look into your dashboard. Okay. And reminding is, so here if you look at the type of authentication, it's a password authentication. That's what we're gonna demo today. But there is other type of authentication is password and IAM database authentication, and password and Kerberos authentication. So there are different type of protocols, right? IAM database authentication is you can authenticate to your DB using your IAM role, and same is the case with the Kerberos. Kerberos is the type of authentication methodology. Okay, so and then coming back to our options here, maintenance window. So usually you can select your preference here, and at any time if it says any maintenance activity needs to happen on your databases, it will do that during this mentioned period here. So for us, we don't have any preference at this point. And this is a deletion protection. So if you enable this, it won't let you to delete your database by accidentally if you click on that, something like that, right? So usually we enable that in real time. So this, if you see, this Amazon free tier is available to you for 12 months. So you'll get this kind of configuration for free, and 750 hours of running instance and 20 GB, of SSD. Okay, so let's create this database. It will take a couple of minutes, so let's wait for that. So usually after it gets created, what we do is we take that URL and we open up the terminal, or let's connect it from pgadmin. Okay, so pgadmin is a database editor where you can connect to your DB instance. So it's pretty handy here. What you do is you go ahead and add server like this, right? And here let's say DB demo and connection would be your host that you get on the console, and port number, password, and once you save that, it gets connected. Okay, so usually once it gets created, what you can see here is this is where you can get your endpoint and port number that you want to connect, and make sure in default security group that you chose, let's look at the roles. Okay, here if you see inbound roles, inbound you're allowing all the traffic and the source. Usually when you create a new security group, the source by default it would be populated with the same security group. Okay, the same with the same name. So if that's the case, then you wouldn't be able to connect from your local machine or from anywhere. So what you want to do is you want to allow that to everybody, like with the zeros. That's for demo, right? In real time, you would have specific machines that you would want to allow to connect your database instances. So that's what you would give. Basically, you would give the VPCs or any other account specific machines that you would want to connect to, right? That's what you would specify here, source. So let's go back to so you don't need this. Let's stop that. Let's refresh. Yep, so you got this available. Okay, go here. So this is our host, and these are port number, and these are all the default subnets, and these are all these can be configured at the time of creation, so depending on your use case and scenarios, right? So public accessibility S, and the certificate authority. Okay, so that's all. So let's go ahead and connect this to create this server host. and 5432 is the port. Okay, and password we gave the same password. Postgres, save password, save. See, we created to the database. So we created the database and connected to it, right? So now if you see, it doesn't have any tables. It has public schema. Okay, so you can go ahead and create a table here. Table demo table, columns you can add, let's say name and then text, right? That's it. Now let's go ahead and so start from that. Okay, yeah. So basically what happens right now is you created a database instance, and then it created a database itself within the server, database server, and then now after that you got the connection details here, the endpoint, and use that, and you created a server here in pgadmin, and you connected to that. So that's what happened, right? So if you want to get more details, look at my previous video. That's where you see the basics of RDS, and then that's the continuation of this, right? What is RDS and how that the architectural view, how does it look like, right? You can look in there. So, and coming back to this, like I was mentioning before, the enhanced monitoring, so you can look at here, like in the monitoring it will show you the CPU utilization, DB connections, free storage space, and read ops, IOPS, right? So this dashboard can be configurable, and there's a lot of events you can see there, and logs and events configuration. So if you look up configuration, it was I was talking about the parameter group, right? So if you look at here, this is all configuration storage that we chose. But if you go back to this parameter groups, for example, this application name, like I was mentioning before, max connection. See, this is one of the important properties. So you can specify by default, this is the formula it will follow. So db instance class memory divided by so and so number, and it will come up with some connections, max connections, right? So what it does is for a given instance and for a given database server, depending on the RAM, what are the maximum number of connections that you can open at concurrently at the same time, right? That means you can keep concurrency means how many number of connections you can keep it open. So that's what this property will tell. So usually if this property is configured, let's say 10, and if you are connecting to your database instances from your serverless applications or from anywhere, like from EC2, like that, if application keep on opening new connections, then you need to make sure that should not cross this max connections, otherwise you're gonna run into connection issues. Okay, usually that will solve that problem by connection pooling if it is a regular application running in the server, or if it is serverless, then you will take care of reusing the existing connection, and make sure that lambda instances are not spinning up, many number of lambda instances are not spinning up at the same time. So you'll take care of limiting that, so that every instance cannot generate a new connection. Okay, those are some of the tips that you'll have to take care. So yep, that's all guys for today. Feel free to watch my previous videos, and if you like this video, please click on like button, and please do subscribe. And we have a few more videos that, and we'll wrap up this AWS crash course, and then we'll go into other technologies. Okay, see you guys later. Take care. Bye.